The following program contains content that may not be suitable for children. Parental discretion is advised.
Help women save lives and peacefully end abortion where you live.
I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired.
You were serious about that?
Be inspired to change hearts and minds by joining over 1 million volunteers taking part in the global movement happening in your neighborhood.
She says, pray that I can get through this abortion. And I said, oh, no. So she went ahead and went into the abortion clinic. And she just came out. She told us, I'm not going to get the abortion. We just had a baby saved. So we had a baby saved in Memphis today. Praise the Lord.
This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I am Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. And this is a very important and timely podcast, as we will do a deep dive into what you need to know about abortion pills in 2025. There are a lot of myths about abortion pills, and there's a lot of grim realities about abortion pills, but we will cover that all. This is obviously probably the biggest problem the pro-life movement has right now in 2024, so we will equip you with the good, the bad, and the ugly regarding the situation with abortion pills. And somebody who is both good and bad, but not ugly, is Mr. Steve Carlin, who joins us from Wisconsin.
I don't know that you can say I'm good. A wise man once said, only our Heavenly Father is good.
Yeah, annoying people do that. Like, hey, how's your barbecue ribs? They're good. Only God is good.
But that's a misapplication.
Matt Britton said that.
Why?
Welcome.
No, Jesus Christ said that. Why do you call me good? For only my Father in heaven is good. But when you say that about ribs, you're like, because I'm not talking about a person, I'm talking about ribs. Do you like them? You're not.
I think you're good.
Well, thank you.
I'll take it. Okay. I have a question for you, because you've raised a lot of kids, right? You're still raising kids, but you're kind of ahead of. We're like in the grind.
He's calling you old.
No, I'm calling him experienced and wise. Okay.
But I am old.
So we're like in the grind, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Woo! It's you warned me. You're like, it's wait till they get into high school. You know, you hate it when people say that. Just wait till. But that was a big so it's fun, but it's work. Okay. Steve, I think, is dilapidated, and not for reasons that you think so. I really have a problem with this. So obviously, you have to have Advent and fasting, and we prepare our hearts and souls for Christmas, right? But I have a category of just crazy Advent guy who I think likes Advent more than Christmas. And we all go on our rants, like they put the Christmas decorations out, before Halloween and all this stuff, and the Christmas music is on and all this. And basically, by the time Thanksgiving comes, you're in full blown. I don't go crazy. Like, he puts up his tree at like noon on Christmas Day. There's no wrong answer. Is the whole rant, why are we listening to Christmas music and it's December 10th? Or is it like, look, the world has their own guided or misguided way of like embracing Christmas or celebrating Christmas? It's not necessarily in line with the liturgical calendar, but isn't that a good thing overall?
First of all, I think in no way that you are dilapidated.
All right, thank you.
That's a lie. That is a direct lie. He just lied to you.
I don't really know what it means, but it doesn't apply to you. And secondly, I think that you can encapsulate this in saying that Advent or Lent is preparation for something, and you can't let that be more important than the something. So the preparation, the Advent, the coming of, the Advento, cannot be more important than the coming of our Lord. And the Lent, the preparation for the death and resurrection of our Lord, can't be more important than the coming again. So I think that if we begin to elevate that above the it's like, what do you told me once, you're like, you hate ice cream. I mean, you can hate ISIS. You don't hate ice cream. What do you do? What do you join the Taliban?
You said I hate ice cream, and I'm like, I said I hate ISIS.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, you can hate ISIS, but not ice cream. And I'm like, you're right. You're like, come on, would you join the Taliban? Eat a popsicle. And you're like, yeah. So, I mean, if you can't let these things like diets or like overwhelm the thing itself. And I think that there's a tendency to do that. And I think that you come by it righteously, though. And I think that, as St. Jose Maria said, a saint is one who struggles. And one who gives up the struggle is one who gives into despair, which is the tool of the evil one. And so it is so important to struggle. So for our family and for our way of thinking, like, we wouldn't even think of going out trick-or-treating. And people are like, but it's All Souls Day. And I'm like, but you're just going to people's houses dressed like a ghoul asking for candy. Like, why don't you just give your kid candy? You know what I mean? So I'm not against the candy is my point, but I'm against the evil. And I think it's easy to deny it and like, oh, I can watch that movie. Right. I'm spiritually developed. And then you're arrogant. So what we do is, look, you have Gaudete Sunday. Every Sunday is a feast day. And so you're always allowed to feast. And the rest of the time you should be preparing in a similar way to Lent. Putting up your Christmas tree, not until Christmas days, and not letting your kids get any presents until like February 10th, kind of Looney Tunes.
I think that was an indictment at the very, very end. The kind of Looney Tunes. Because it is, Mary Lee said,
you know what I mean?
We used to be more sticklers about this. Like, it's got, and as you know, you get busier and your kids get older, and it's like, we got to put up the tree when we can put up the tree, like physically,
but
like
they're
the time
kids.
period.
But they're kids.
Yeah.
They're not adults.
Right.
They're not, okay. They would need to be taught to be lights in the world, but give them a break.
Right.
They're kids.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we go out, we find the tree, we cut our own tree down because we live in God country and there's still our trees. And we cut our own tree down and we drag it in, and it's a family event.
It's not
and
going in our front yard for us. It's going in our living room.
But I think that is preparation, and then we trim it on Christmas Day. I don't know. I think there are different ways to do it. We got other plants in our house.
Sure.
Nobody said you can't put up that ficus tree. It's not Christmas. So, I mean, it's just a tree. So if you don't like it, it's not a Christmas tree. It's just an evergreen, okay?
I knew it would get deep fast.
We've gotten, this is like into the Summa here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you're still, so now we will build you up. So you hold out and you put up your tree at noon on Christmas Eve.
No, we do it like the weekend before.
Okay.
We're not crazy.
You've gotten a little loosey-goosey. Great.
Before February 1st.
Right.
The weekend before February.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we do that. If we're invited to a Christmas party beforehand, we'll go. We just try to delay as much as we can until Christmas.
You will?
Eve. Yeah.
We won't.
Okay.
Unless it's on a Sunday or Gaudete Sunday.
Okay.
What about the music situation? The kids get in the car. Okay, so whatever. The week after Thanksgiving.
Def Leppard and nothing else.
That's right. George Strait. So that's what I make the kids listen to when I take them.
That's how they say it.
The week after Thanksgiving, basically you get in the car, and I've given up on all this because I'm like, no Christmas music until after Thanksgiving, and I can't control the teenager. They just turn on Christmas music like in their room on their stereo. But is there Christmas music on in the car when you're going to school or any other time?
I don't turn it on, but my kids do, and I guess, depends on who you ask. I usually wait, but I'm not like issue a fatwa against my children turning on a Christmas song.
This is great. He's really not as crazy as I thought he was.
I don't think you're crazy at all. We're dilapidated.
I think you're a little. I thought last year you were going a little nuts there, and so now I think you've relaxed a little bit.
Maybe the kids have gotten a little older and you can't control everything like you just said.
No. Put the tree up at Halloween. I give up.
The kid went and got the tree himself. Give him a break, honey. You were the one that...
If you put up Christmas decorations so mom doesn't have to, we'll put them up. I don't care when we do it. Yeah, then we get down to brass tacks. Okay.
Because you're doing something for someone else. It's preparation for the coming of the Lord.
It is indeed.
But I don't like the idea that it's all a bunch of celebrations and a bunch of giving, and then Christmas is almost like a disappointment.
Yeah, you're exhausted.
There has to be a preparation.
Sure. And I love Christmas break. It's fun. We see both sides of the family. It's a lot of fun. The kids enjoy it. It's all good. What every pro-lifer needs to know about abortion pills in 2025. So they are now officially the majority of all abortions. When did that start?
2020. They passed the 50% mark, and then right now, most of the estimates that I've seen, I think some that you've seen, show like just shy of 2/3. Though there was a piece that came out in the New York Times a few weeks ago that said it's probably like 80% are now pill-induced.
I don't understand where they get some of those stats, like, because it just jumps so quickly. And I know abortion pills are a huge problem. That's why we're doing this. But it seemed to go from like 40 to 80 in like 6 months.
It definitely went quickly, and some of it's because there's just an incentive to, like, it's cheaper, there's lower overhead, there's push to distribute, which we'll be talking about, just distribute abortion pills in places where they're not legal. There's definitely an agenda there. But also, like, these statistics, they're kind of hard to come by, because anytime you look at abortion numbers, it tends to be like, well, according to the CDC, which tracks 42 states, one of which is not California, and then also with data from Guttmacher, and we also surveyed providers. So it's not as though we've got like the U.S. Census Bureau out there tracking the number of abortions the way they track the number of people. These are kind of cobbled together.
Well, I mean, lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? I mean, you can make statistics say anything that you want, but we jumped right into reporting and statistics and how bad it is. But the majority of abortions, the killing of a woman's own child by her own self, are done by abortion pills. That we can say. One of the things that, if you want to have a sort of a regimented discussion about this, is it isn't abortion pills being taken that is measured. That is over 50%, being taken and killing the unborn child. It's not abortion pills being prescribed. It's not abortion pills being delivered. It's abortion pills being made, delivered, and sold. So let's say that a state like California buys 17 million of them and stockpiles them in case Donald Trump gets elected. Where are those counted? So this is truly an unknowable number. To answer your question, why it can go from 40 to 80% in a day, because they can just count the numbers differently. Well, they're now producing 5 times as many. They're selling to the pharmacies 5 times. Pharmacies can deliver that. You don't need.
But it's not the number of women actually taking it.
Definitely not. And it never will be, because they're not having any follow-up appointments. You know, when you go to your doctor and you're like, man, my back is, and he says that, she or says this, or and they do this, and they never in the world have they ever like called you up and said, hey, how did that go? I'm writing a paper. Could you like, where do they write these papers? How do they even know that these drugs can cause migraines? Like, nobody ever followed up with me. If I don't go back to my doctor, if I don't call him about the test results, he didn't call me. So the point is that, could you imagine if you're not incentivized to do a follow-up? I mean, nobody's doing these follow-ups, which is, by the way, recommended by the FDA on abortion pills. So the point is that these statistics are always going to be bad. But what we do know by the manufacturer of them, because they're not going to make more if nobody's buying them, because it costs them money. What we do know by the manufacturer of them, and the reported statistics, are that more than 50% of all abortions committed by people in the United States are committed through the use of pills, chemical abortion.
To your point, Matt, a phenomenon that we saw is not just states like California stocking up, but after Trump was elected, there were reports of like some of these hotlines, call in and order your abortion pills. Individuals were also stockpiling them for a rainy day.
It's similar, I guess, to ammunition and guns. When you have something happen like COVID, or somebody thinks, whatever, Kamala's going to get elected, and they say, well, there's more ammunition in Pennsylvania than half the world's armies combined, or all that, and people just think that's like a war zone, and it's like sitting in some guy's
It's way
safe.
more deadly than ammunition, actually. Kills a lot more people than all the world combined.
There you go. There we go. Now we're getting down to brass tacks. But it's also like, this ammo is like, people aren't running around shooting each other in Pennsylvania. It's in a safe, but it looks like, you know, there's more, you know, guns in Texas than whatever. And
Here's another difference. You get in trouble if you shoot your kid. You don't get in trouble if you eat a pill and kill your kid.
Totally. It's 100%. Speaking of, why don't you take us through how the abortion pill actually works?
This hasn't been a cheery podcast so far.
It's not a cheery podcast. It's not a cheery topic. Well, and we're going to get to some of the myths because people think it's over. They're just going to be shipping abortion pills all over the place. They're doing it right now, and the pro-life movement will go away, and we'll kind of dissect.
And give us a plug, because the ILJ and the campaign team did a joint release on this.
Yeah, there's a couple of good documents you guys have put together. You go to the Institute of Law and Justice website, 40daysforlife.com/institute. If you're watching, we'll put that address on the screen, 40daysforlife.com/institute. It gives you the full breakdown, so if you're listening in the car, you don't have to remember every word that we say here. But most chemical abortions are a 2-pill regimen. Mifepristone, which blocks the reception of progesterone, which is a naturally occurring hormone, which is necessary to sustain the life of the newly conceived child. Mifepristone blocks progesterone, and then it's usually followed with a second pill called misoprostol, which causes contractions and expels the body of the now deceased child out of the woman's body. So 2-pill regimen, and this is...
So God made progesterone naturally so we could have children, and man made pills to block God's plan.
Yeah, 100% accurate there. And that's the funny thing is progesterone, like sometimes, I'm sure we'll talk more about abortion pill reversal later, but abortion pill reversal is that naturally occurring hormone, progesterone. It's not like this scary...
It's not even a drug.
Right, yeah.
It's a hormone.
Yeah, the drug, the scary drug is the mifepristone and the misoprostol.
It is scary.
It's a brave new world, really. I mean, when we get into this, and some abortionists do it up to 12 weeks, but most of these are 8 to 10 weeks, and this is out of control because Obama, he started to deregulate it in 2016, but then Biden in 2020 they used COVID.
Emergency temporary regulation. How many times have the socialists told us that, and then it becomes permanent?
Exactly, including FDR. Thanks.
And these things get confusing, too, because we talked about what chemical abortions are, what abortion pills are, and a lot of pro-lifers get confused and mistake abortion pills with, like, the morning after pill or Plan B or emergency contraception. I mean, it's kind of tragic. You think about all of the creative abilities that God has endowed man with and all the different ways we're using it to either prevent life from being conceived or to kill life after it's been conceived. Like the fact that there's so many different versions of ways to prevent babies from being born that we're getting confused amongst them, even on pro-lifers who are spending their free time out on the sidewalk praying for an end to abortion.
But the deregulation of it is so crazy because nobody was wanting this on the abortion side the day before Dobbs overturned Roe v. Wade. And then all of a sudden the CDC, the FDA, just unleashed, all these regulations and made it like passing out Skittles across the country. And they wonder why so many women end up in the ER. I mean, it's a total disaster. One of the positives about abortion pills is unlike surgical abortion, it has a terrible word of mouth because the experience itself is violent. They want it to be like, hey, you take an Advil, it's no big deal. It's not. They passed the baby. Most of the women say the same thing, which is, it was a baby. And they're passing it in the toilet. They're passing it at the prom. They're passing it at the movie theater. We've heard everything. It's painful and disgusting. And so it has a bad word of mouth, which works in our favor, hopefully over time. But this whole thing about in 2023, you're just going to make it available, through the mail is crazy land. And there were even, we need to find them, but I remember there were a few abortion doctors saying, we don't really want to do that. But who cares what they say because the Supreme Court is evil. Let's cover that. Most people think we can just mail them anywhere. Okay, so the legality of that, where can you actually mail abortion pills and where can't you?
Well, there's 13 states where abortion is not lawful in the U.S. And again, another plug to the Institute of Law and Justice. We have our post-Roe America map on 40daysforlife.com. And so if abortion is not legal, then it's not legal to have the abortion pill there. But
and most people
according to the state.
Right.
But they don't realize that. I think a lot of people think, yeah, but we still have abortion pills. It doesn't matter if Alabama bans abortion.
Well, that's partially true, right? Because Well, it may be illegal in that state. You also have the Biden administration, which granted the Postal Service immunity if they drop off. Okay, we know we're dropping off mifepristone, which is illegal in Oklahoma, but Biden administration says, well, go for it. We're not going to come after you. There's a lot of different opinions on that. And you can, as Matt will tell you.
Was that an executive order?
No, it was akin to an executive order, but it was a letter ruling from the President of the United States to the Post Office, Postmaster General of the United States, saying that it was lawful for them to deliver. Actually, we have it set
That's
out
amazing.
in detail. We did do this thing called chemical abortion by pill, what you need to know. And the thing is, we put it out as an FAQ. That's how we did it. What is chemical abortion? What is the difference between abortion pill and the morning after pill? How common? Gestational limits, mother's age limits. Does it require an appointment? Who can give it? How much does it cost? Well, one of these questions is, can I get it through the mail? And the answer just here is very brief. On January 3rd, 2023, the FDA modified for the abortion pill, allowing access by telehealth and mail. So they did two things at one time. And of course, at that time, it was 8 to 10 weeks. They then made it 10 to 12 weeks, and now they're trying to make it up to 20 weeks for Executive Order 14076. And then the Biden administration provided the United States Postal Service workers immunity by OLC slip opinion December 2023. So it's a slip opinion, which is akin to an executive order saying you're immune from doing it. So the states may say that you can't do it. But there's, the devil's tricky. So what'll happen is that a Louisiana pro-abort doctor will get a license in a neighboring state that allows it, have a telehealth appointment in Louisiana with a Louisiana resident, tell her to get a P.O. box right across the border. Then he'll call it into a pharmacy, in Illinois, and they'll deliver it right across the border into a pro-abort state, and she'll have to drive 16 miles to pick it up or something. Assuming it's her that's on the phone that is actually pregnant. So, one of the things we've seen and been reported at our vigils is the 24-year-old sister, there's an 18-year-old, you have to be 18 to get an abortion or get abortion pills in such and such state. So she gets her 24-year-old sister who's pregnant and wants her baby to call the 14-year-old call it in. She calls into the doctor and is like, look, I want to kill my baby. And they're like, of course you want to kill your baby. We want to help you kill your baby. Do you have $600? I got $600. Good. Credit card. It's like an ATM machine. They send the pills and Lord knows who goes to pick it up. That's a whole other issue. Yeah. But Billy Bob picks it up, drives it to the 14-year-old, and she takes it and kills her baby. Or maybe they drop it off and the 14-year-old's not home. They pick it up on the table and the 9-year-old takes it. Nobody knows. So when you're saying how many of these are committed, that's the issue. Once you get into crazy land, they have ATMs, Sean, where your telehealth is by you put the thing in and you see the whoever, Susie. You don't even know if it's in like a qualified. They never lay hands on you. They're like, put in your age. Here's the age that makes it legal. Here's the date of birth. It has to be after this. They put it all in and they say, when was your last menstrual period? That's how they're figuring it out. Nobody lays any hands on you. Nobody does. And then they send you these two drugs, as Steve pointed out. One kills the baby, and one expels the baby, the dead baby. And hopefully you don't bleed to death alone at age 19 in your bathroom.
And
that's accurate, right?
Yeah, and on top of everything you just said, there's also not just a possibility, but the actual incidence of cases where a woman doesn't want an abortion, but somebody else gets the pill and breaks it and puts it in her drink and stirs it up or that sort of thing. And we would say that we'd make this sort of claim like, this is a real risk. And there were newspaper articles like, these guys are crazy, these guys are tinfoil hat, they're conspiracy theorists. And so in What to Say When too, how many examples did we put? 8, 10, 12? Right. And there were many more that we could have chosen where the boyfriend or the husband is spiking the drink with abortion pill and inducing an unwanted abortion. So much for choice. And we could have kept going, but we're like, you can only put so many pages started. I think we've proven our point.
And unlike
Special place in hell too.
Unlike ammo,
those guys.
Where you point a gun at someone, they could duck. Maybe they could pull a gun out. Maybe they could run, defend themselves, call 911. You're not killing the patent, the open, obvious target.
Right.
You're killing and so, I mean, it is really an insidious and awful. And you know what? If that happens once, we shouldn't have abortion pills, right? I mean, come on. And there's no other legitimate purpose. Like Steve said, it's not like progesterone, right? I mean, that's what it's intended to do, and that's what it does. And it does a good job. By the way, abortion pills, they cause a lot of problems, but they're highly effective.
One of the cases, just as an example, there's a guy, his wife is pregnant. He doesn't want her to be, so he's like lecturing her about the importance of proper hydration. You got to drink more water. You got to drink more water. And she takes a look at the glass of water he prepared for her. Why is it cloudy? I don't know. Must be the pipes. So she like sends it to a lab, and sure enough, it's full of mifepristone.
That's awful.
Terrible.
That is awful.
This is why, we've talked about, not to harp on what to say when to, but there's like the 35 pages of footnotes at the end. That was so that nobody can be like, look at the disinformation. Like, these are secular news sources reporting all of these cases.
Shout out to Matt for clearing the book, because I felt bad sending him everything. It's like, it only has 2 or 3 footnotes. It's like maybe he'll get it back to us in 5 years, and he cleared it in like a week. It was very impressive. I guess you just didn't sleep, do anything else. But it's very well researched, and it's very accurate. The other issue with this whole "we care about women" BS is they've further removed the doctors from the process, and even in some cases, nurses or nurse practitioners. It's absolute mayhem. Here's the thing, and this will be an interesting RFK topic since he's anti-drug and gets on big pharma and all that stuff, is that we have this huge drug problem in our country, right? And I had my foot surgery. What do they give you? Can't even think of it now.
The opioids?
The opioids. Okay, so I didn't take any of them because, thank God, I didn't need them. And so I don't know if I'm a psychopath and I didn't feel the pain afterwards, but my doctor was like, yeah, he was impressed with himself because I didn't have any pain. But so I didn't take any of them. But that's like that's the whole craze, right? Which is, we're all on opioids, we're all on all this stuff, and they're going to further deregulate something that kills a baby and something that causes massive complications. And this lady Amber in Georgia, who was killed by the abortion pills, and then the left is arrogant enough to say that it was lack of abortion that killed her. It's absolutely shameful, and they just. It is the problem.
It makes sense to me they're cowards. It makes sense to me. This is the bomber. You don't need to put any troops on the ground. You don't need to see the enemy. All you got to do is believe the generals that village, that city, that town needs to go. There's no wet work.
And is that Roe? Is that they overturn Roe?
There's no
all
stabbing.
Rules are out the window.
We send them the pills. We don't see because when you show a doctor an actual, and they're like, that's not what happens. You don't cut up an 8-month-old baby. Oh my gosh, you show them a video and they don't do it. They never seem to see that because they want to get it to be 100%, right? They never need to see it. So I think this is the B-1 bomber of the abortion industry.
Or like the drone strikes. You don't even have a pilot there. You're just
I think it's worse than that because
better.
It's worse than that because we know where the B-1 bomber goes and bombs. There's evidence of it. There's no evidence of this.
No, but there's collateral damage. And you're right, there's evidence of it, but there's generalized evidence of who's buying it, what states are buying it, what cities are buying it. Some cities, I don't know whether it's Los Angeles, but like that, Chicago, whatever, buying millions of doses and things like that and stockpiling. And you know where there are 911 calls, where there are morgue calls. And it's very low. It's single digits and stuff, but it's still, 8% of millions is a lot of people. Yeah, and by the way, to give this, so if we talk about the opioid crisis, if 50% of abortions are committed by pills, that's 600,000 Americans that are killed every year by abortion pills. You know how many people are killed in the opioid crisis every year? 100,000.
Really?
We turn the entire, and that's terrible.
Right.
One death is terrible.
Right. But most people think, how many people died of opioids?
50
5
million.
million. Yeah.
It's 100,000 people overdosed, not just of opioids, of all drugs last year. Really? In the United States of America.
All drugs, 100,000
And we turned the entire country on it, and at the same time nobody ran on more opioid deaths. But Kamala Harris ran on more abortion.
More abortions.
And here's something I think is
And lost. Big time.
She did? What about the blue wall? There's a podcast. I'll watch your podcast.
We already did you were in on that podcast.
We just see the major retail pharmacies on the heels of settling a $1 billion suit from the government on their role in proliferating and saturating communities with opioids. So they're just fresh off of this. They're irresponsible. They're giving them out. And now right on the heels of that, they're like, you know what? Let's start giving out abortion pills through the drive-through window.
Yeah.
That kills 6 times. Mm-hmm. And that's 6 times is 500,000 more people. And that's a conservative. That's what we know. That's why I said what I know is more than half of abortions are committed by pills. I think anyone would agree with that. CDC, FDA, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, anybody on either side of whatever, they were on both sides of the election. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. That's why I used them as an example.
Like they were enemies?
No, I wouldn't say that. Actually respected her. I thought she did a good job. She totally lost.
So you touched on this earlier, but we need to remind everybody, you don't have to sign the receipt or anything delivery for this. They can just drop it off.
It's like anything else. So we cover this really well. And Dr. Donato Barillo, who's a practicing attorney, as well as a practicing medical doctor in a bunch of states, 20 states, helped to draft this with Steve's great team and me and Donato on the ILJ team, and we cover all of these things. And that's right. The medicine, and we've experienced a little bit of this. You ever try and go to the doctor and you're like, you remember in Jurassic Park, you do have dinosaurs, and you do have a doctor in your medical building. Well, they do everything they can, not to disparage other medical care people, but to make you not see a doctor at the doctor's office, including a waiting room. Like, what other business has a waiting room? Wait here before I sell you something. I don't know. But they seem to proliferate. But we answer these questions beyond what is a chemical abortion and what's the difference between the morning after pill, Ella, or Plan B, or whatever, and how common is it, gestational limits. But we get into these other things. So I encourage people really to go through this because we get into who can get them, how do you get them, where can they be mailed? Can they be mailed from Illinois to Alabama, the great state of Alabama, or Mississippi, wrapped itself in glory with Dobbs? How do you get them? Do you need a physical appointment? Do you need any appointment at all? What can pharmacies do it, and in what states, and which ones are they doing it in? Can pharmacies deliver an abortion pill to you without a prescription? And I guarantee you, they are marching. They are marching
over the counter.
Absolutely, 100%. And otherwise, do you know why? You're denying someone their constitutional right. Because medical care, the result of medical care, could you imagine the opposite if you went in and said, man, I just got my foot surgery. If you don't give me Dilaudid and other opiates and opioids, I'm going to sue you for a denial of my constitutional right. They're like, man, your foot hurts. I'm sure it's a constitutional right. Yes, it is. Like, it's just absurd. It's like Peter Kraft said, if it weren't about sex, we would not be nobody would say you could sue your doctor to get drugs.
Right. No. But
now you can.
That's 100% true. This
costs $600, by the way.
Yeah, $600. It's a cash cow. It's a total cash cow.
Totally.
And because these things are so unregulated, some of that non-prescription use is already de facto taking place, right? Like, you can go online and you can order your abortion pills from, I think many of them, maybe most of them, are coming internationally from India. Just coming from India. They're manufactured there. What's in them? Who made them? Nobody really knows. They're just coming from India. If you want to be in like a fencing competition, but you're Russian, you can't come because we're against Russia because of Ukraine or whatever, but we've got Russian abortion pills coming into our country. And again, nobody knows. Nobody knows how many. All you know is there's a website, you can go there, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Again, not a how-to, but off-label use is legal, right? So when they were given Botox so that vanity and you could get rid of your wrinkles, a bunch of doctors noticed, hey, my clients with migraines are not having migraines. Botox works for migraines. The FDA has now approved it, but long before they did, it's perfectly legal for any medical doctor to prescribe something off-label. In fact, when your kids go to, I know you have kids. I think between us, we have 53 kids. So, and we've gone to the doctor a lot, right? And so, almost every drug ever prescribed to your kid is off-label because they don't test drugs on kids. So it's always, so when they give amoxicillin and doxycycline and all, they're doing it off-label. Those are approved for adults. But we give them to kids so that when they get a bacterial, we make it strep throat, right? So they don't die. You got strep throat, you get amoxicillin or whatever they give you. That's off-label use. But the point is that why these guys aren't just saying, oh, just come in for an acne appointment and I'll give you abortion pills.
Yeah.
I'm not.
They may be getting to that.
I'm not prescribing an abortion for this 14-year-old because she doesn't have parental consent. I'm just giving her, how do you say it? Abortion pill?
The mifepristone?
Yeah, what, like that?
Mifepristone.
I didn't say it. The abortion pill? The baby killing pill? That baby killing, well, I'll just give you a baby killing pill for your acne. Well, I don't really have acne. Yes, you do? Oh, yeah, I do. Right? So that's off-label use. Totally legal. I mean, this is the kind of thing why I say, when no doctor wants to commit abortion, when no woman needs an, that's when abortion's going to stop. These guys are going to figure out a way because it's money involved. And the pharmacies are going to make it.
Yeah, and it's...
I mean, not the pharmacies, the pharmaceutical companies, I'm sorry. The pharmacies are going to sell it.
And we talked about this a little bit with Ramona, but for Planned Parenthood, because the theory would be, well, all these abortion clinics are just going to go away, and it's just going to be Planned Parenthood's going to have basically an Amazon warehouse, and they just FedEx abortion pills. But brick and mortar is still their model, and it's very important to them. They have a lot of money in it. They want people to go to their satellite places. I think we're always obviously going to have surgical abortions. They're still in some places building abortion facilities. So I don't think
if they were smarter, they would have said you need an appointment.
I know, but I think actually backdoor this is going to hurt them.
For sure, because they're trying to get away from appointments, and you call up, you scan your ID, your license or whatever, and you get 2 pills in the mail with a peppermint and a tea bag as a comfort pack. Why do you need a comfort pack? I thought abortion was a good thing. You know what I mean? I really don't know what you mean. But why do you need a building? Why do you need Title whatever funding? Why do you need any funding? You do 2 pap smears a month.
Yeah.
You sell, and that's another thing, Sean. The difference between when they could say, well, we do this many abortions back when that's all you could have for an abortion was reaching in with scissors in a vacuum, and now when you can give the pills is they literally are doing like 1/100th of everything else. I mean, because they're distributing so many pills.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And also, by the way, they're gonna eat themselves. They're gonna cannibalize themselves. The pharmacies, when Walgreens and CVS or whatever the pharmacies.
We don't know how many they're doing, right? CVS, like there's no way to.
Well,
like if you're a shareholder of Walgreens.
Not right now. Not right now, we don't. There's a plan for that where they have to report it, but again, we're not sure whether they're reporting how many they buy, how many they have, how many they distribute, when they distribute them, for what purpose. There's people prescribing it now for other purposes, like I said, acne. So there's a big, but the point is that they're going to cannibalize themselves because Planned Parenthood, once it goes straight to pharmacy, guess who's not wanted? Guess who's unwanted? When people have choice. Guess what happens when women have choice about where they kill? They're not going to choose Planned Parenthood.
Well, we got some great stories from those CVS, Walgreens, 40 Days for Life campaigns. Because
they're super effective campaigns.
They're way effective, and real estate's much better because typically Planned Parenthoods and abortion clinics, they're kind of tucked away. That ain't the case. CVS got a lot of money with their real estate alone. I mean, they're like McDonald's. They're like just in the middle of these busy intersections.
And I've been there. Everybody takes a pamphlet.
Yeah, and they're like,
no
what?
Way, you can't get an abortion. And they're like, I'm going to talk to the manager.
I was here to get ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Like licorice and an abortion? No, I don't think so.
We had somebody, a Walgreens employee, write to us and say that when we all get our receipts when we get something from wherever, like Subway. Answer this survey about your sandwich and you'll get a free cookie next time. Like everybody's got their surveys, and apparently anything less than a 9 is not a good grade to the management, is what this employee told us. It said anyone who maybe you don't have the option to go somewhere else other than Walgreens or other than CVS for your prescription because of your insurance coverage, fine. They said let them know on the survey. They take notice of that. They get upset about that. And as we've said before, Planned Parenthood has public relations professionals that are designed to like contend with pro-lifers and our presence outside of their buildings. The like 17-year-old working the front counter at Walgreens is not equipped to be the spokesperson for CVS, and the pharmacists who may be pro-life are not interested in carrying the water of the abortion facility or abortion industry while they're at work. So there's unique vulnerabilities there.
Well, you don't even eat cookies. That was an homage.
He still does
Tom Brady commercial. But you don't even eat
You
bread.
don't eat bread.
It's true.
Steve doesn't eat cookies.
It was a Subway commercial. I was trying to connect.
Oh yeah, I got it.
This is another problem, which even though we've done a million podcasts on it, the pro-lifers just underestimate the abortion pill crisis. To me, it's either or. They either say, it's over, let's go home, there are pills everywhere, or they don't get it. They're like, was that like a real abortion?
You know, from the ILJ, I don't think that's accurate for our pro-lifers. We
No.
get a lot of questions on abortion pills. We get
I would say the
lot.
vote, like general conservative America.
They have no idea.
They have no clue.
It isn't underestimated. They're ignorant. They have no idea. They don't know what it is. They think it's Plan B. You know how many pharmacy things we get from that are like, but they've sold that for years, and it's Plan B. They have no idea. They're ignorant. It's like, how many people do you think have died in the opioid crisis? Millions. You know, it's like probably like more than World War II and one.
Yeah,
They have
which is
no.
what people think.
They have absolutely no idea, and it's a lot of people. No one should die of an overdose. That's not the point. But in terms of, you could take away every single person in America that died of an overdose last year, you still have 1.1 million abortions.
Yeah, it
doesn't even compare.
No, it's totally true.
This is why it's important for the people who are unaware to know about this, because sometimes we've got 40 Days for Life leaders who are out recruiting, and they're like, well, it's just pills. As you said, well, they've been available forever. And so when people know the truth about what these pills are, what they do, how harmful and dangerous they are, it gets more people out praying for them because they have an understanding of it. This isn't, it's kind of like an abortion light. This is just as deadly.
We have Unplanned in here because I know we've all given talks. I've given 5-minute talks. I've given hour talks on abortion pills, and nothing's more effective than the 2-minute scene from Unplanned where they show the chemical abortion. Very well done. And very well shot, actually, too. It's just powerful. But do you think, this is my theory that I shared earlier, that I think the word of mouth is much worse. That's just listening from the women. And even Abby, when she was running this place where we are now, the closed Planned Parenthood, she found herself talking women out of abortion pills because her experience was so horrific, right? Which was sort of her first clue to herself, like, now I'm like not doing my job. I'm not even selling abortion to the level I should. So is that true? Do you think the word of mouth thing, or do you think just, no, we want abortion. We don't care if it's miserable?
At this moment, I think it's speculative, but I think as time goes by, we will have more evidence of that, because I did a lot of interviews with post-abortion healing people, like the people involved in Rachel's Vineyard and projects like that, from across the country, because I had heard rumors that since Roe was overturned, women are seeking healing from their abortions sooner than they used to. Instead of waiting years or decades to come forward for healing, it's weeks or months, or in the case of one woman I talked to, on the phone with someone who was still bleeding, looking for healing.
Also, one in the parking lot. Before she left the clinic.
Yeah, and so I asked about this. Why is this the case? And they said, well, with the proliferation of abortion pills, they said a couple of different things. One, if you have a surgical abortion at Planned Parenthood on Oak Street or wherever it is, a lot of the women, they compartmentalize the abortion experience. They tuck it away in the back of their mind. They try not to think about it. They don't drive down Oak Street anymore, and they just try to leave it in the past. Whereas if you go and you take these abortion pills and you complete your abortion at home in your bathroom, like we saw in that scene in Unplanned, there's nowhere to hide. You're confronting your abortion facility every day because it's your house. And so unable to dodge that, the women are seeking healing sooner. And I said, I asked some of these folks who are dealing with these women on a daily basis, I said, how do the women feel about that? And they said, they're mad. They were told this would be like a heavy period. They were told they'd be back to work tomorrow. And when that wasn't the case, they feel that they've been lied to. And so far I was told right now they're focusing, those who have taken the abortion pill in recent years and come forward for healing, they're still kind of working through their own healing. But I think, again, I don't have evidence for it, but I would strongly suspect that behind the scenes in the quiet conversations, a woman who's had a chemical abortion and has a friend who's pregnant and has a decision to make, are you going to be like, oh yeah, go get the abortion pill? Or are you going to say, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you? I think that's probably a conversation that's happening, but I can't prove it yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. With time, we'll know a lot more.
I got 3 things to say. 2 are in agreement. 1 is more a question. Back when I was DA, the statistics were that something like 85% of all people who were burglarized moved within 3 years.
Really? Mm-hmm. What percentage?
85.
Oh, so you're kind of done.
You're done. You're not going to live in a house. You don't feel safe. Maybe your pet was shot coming in. Maybe someone was injured. Maybe your heirlooms were taken. Maybe Granny's ashes were knocked off. Whatever it is, you can't do it. Magua.
Did that ever happen? That Granny's ashes?
Yes, we had that. It was knocked
You
off
did?
and smashed all over the. And
That's terrible.
yeah, and they couldn't.
Why can't you just steal the TV? You got to knock over Granny's
Maybe
ashes?
the TV was hung. To be fair to the burglar. Anyway, so you have this issue of you can't
Fair to the burglar.
you can't escape, which I have very little interest.
Right.
In. So you can't escape the locale, the way you can on avoiding Oak Street, which I thought that was great. The way you said that, very firm.
Generic.
And then
road.
Yeah, you didn't indict anyone. I would have. And then on the next front, which is the bombing, there's no wet work. You don't see your baby, right? That's why
they do.
That's why they put the Doppler head. No, they don't. They don't show
they
you the baby.
No, but I'm saying on the chemical abortions.
That's what I'm saying. You see it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
That's the difference. Yeah.
So you can't.
But
they hide it from you, so you can hide it from yourself, and you're like, I didn't kill anybody. But if if the baby comes out in your clothing or in your toilet or on your floor, and somebody else sees it, has to help you. Now you've committed in a way a conspiracy to kill. But the third
at your house.
The third thing I'm going to fight John a little bit.
All right.
Hold on, let's stop there because one of the things that we
We're going to fight.
you can fight in a minute. One of the things that
You're like
was
an
really
octagon.
good, the women telling us for the surgical abortions, they turn away the screen, they don't see the ultrasound, they don't listen to the heartbeat, they don't do any of that stuff. They can't, but they do see the tubes, and we get a lot.
They can close their eyes. Look,
I guess so, but the baby
you can't get away from it in your bathroom.
can't get away from the noise.
And you know what? Especially the doctor says that you need a filling, and you're like, I'm going to be dead in 6 weeks, Arno. You're lying. It's cancer. He's like, no, you need a filling. Lots of people people don't like medical stuff.
No, they
People
don't.
are afraid.
I don't like getting blood drawn.
People are afraid of needles, which I'm not afraid of needles. I'm afraid of a madman wielding a needle, but he's a doctor. He's going to help me. And then they mandate COVID. And they're like, everybody in America has to get a bunch of shots.
Right.
I'm like, but people are, I thought you but anyway. But on the third one, you said that people were mad about getting lied to. Like, that's what they're mad about. I don't think that's where the therapy is. That if we're going to be like, here's how we help you to get over the fact that Planned Parenthood lied to you, I think it's that we need to help them not do it because they're lying to themselves. They know why they got the pill. So what are they? They lied to me about how much it would hurt, how much I would bleed.
Yeah.
That's not the important. They lied to you about the fact that you are going to be alone, that you are going to wake up in 55 years crying and seeing your child saying, he'd be 55 now. He'd be exactly the same age as you.
It's like the people that get wound up about the abortions being funded by tax dollars, but they kind of skip over abortion itself.
Lady, I sat next to a lady on an airplane, and she asked me what I did, so I told her, and she goes, I had an abortion, and he'd be your age.
Oh, no.
Right away.
Right off
Well,
the
you
bat.
know how it is. I mean,
Well, it happens a lot, but
it happens a lot, but she
because
just said
they
he'd be your
realize you
age.
work in this, so they're comfortable telling.
That's right, and he'd be your age.
And when she was an old lady.
Yeah, and when I see him at night, he's not like 4 or 6. He's your age.
Wow.
And she's like,
so
my
sad.
dad had to fly me to London because it was illegal in New York. She tells me the whole story.
Obvious regret.
They don't tell them about being lied about that. Okay, so it's painful. Lots of stuff's painful. My wisdom teeth getting out was painful. I bled more than I was supposed to. I got a dry socket. I got lied by by whatever that guy, the tooth guy.
But you didn't wake up 30 years later in despair.
That's right. But if he told me he was going to have to cut my head off to give me a filling and I died, then I would have been pissed. So I mean, that's the thing. Somebody's dying. That's what they're getting lied to about. So the whole thing about, yes, it is traumatic, but the trauma is not the point. The killing is the point. That's what causes the trauma. I wish they would stop lying about that.
I had a what to say when
Not that you
situation.
wouldn't. I'm just
Right.
saying that's where the focus should be. That's why we got to say it is the killing of a child, and if you do it, you're gonna and it's gonna long walk, and we'll help you walk it.
Let me make. I have an apologetic point.
Sure.
It rarely comes up, but it may be useful when people tell you that they had an abortion. There's the opposite of that, and I had this recently, and it was a man who was in his 50s or 60s.
And there are men.
60s. He is a man. He's bragging to me about how he helped a friend's daughter get an abortion. Okay. And he's doing it like, I don't regret it. It was the right thing to do. And, it was a bad, all that stuff. So internally I was a little like boiling because he was like proud of himself and wanted me to know he was proud of himself. He knew totally what he did and everything. Like, I got you on this one. And I said, how old would the kid be today? And he gave me the biggest F-you look I've ever gotten. Like, how dare you, you little son of a... It was just like, it was like kind of the, back to reality here. I'm not going off in a fantasy world where I'm like, yeah, I can see how you'd help her. Like, how old would the kid be? When you bring it back to that and you sober them up on what we're actually talking about, it's very, very powerful. And I think that we don't need to be afraid to do that. Of like, how beautiful, though, for that lady. Like, and it's sad for her. He'd be, your age. So she'd have grandkids and going to college graduations and all that cool stuff. And when we remove the baby, if the baby's not a baby or the kid's not a kid, who cares? What are we even talking about? But it's always, and I've also asked, was it a boy or a girl? For people that are casually passing off abortion. And we have to say something in those scenarios. We just can't be like brushing
It
it off.
shows the justification too, because nobody does an actual good deed and then has to convince you that they're proud of it. Like, hey, I rescued the kitten that was stuck in the tree. I'm so great. Like, you might talk about like you wouldn't help get the kitten, but you're not looking for someone to affirm you because everybody knows that's a nice thing to do for whoever's cat that is.
No one's like, you're just going to pull the kid out of the river?
Yeah.
He's 2. He can struggle out. Like, nobody.
Right. And we do a lot to preserve life. This is the schizophrenia that we have in our country with human life.
This lady was a fairly well-known person. I found out later. I didn't recognize her or whatever, but she had been a fairly well-known person. And she said, but if my dad hadn't taken me to England to get the abortion, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And she said, I'm not really that great of a person.
Gosh.
It was terrible.
Was this on the plane ride down here or just earlier in the fall?
It was on a plane ride to meet you in Germany.
Oh, I remember.
So it's
Yeah,
your
when
fault.
we met. Okay, yeah.
It's your fault. Because you made me
It sounds like this lady had a lot of healing, and I'm getting blamed if that is a negative.
You are getting blamed because you make us do this on a day-to-day basis, and it hurts.
And you need it, frankly. Okay. Any closing comments?
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a thing that Dr. Donato Barillo and Steve and Heather worked on that I think is good at the end of our little encyclical here. What are the big medical problems?
Gosh.
Absence of an in-person examination may lead to inaccuracies in determining gestational age, as date comes from the last menstrual period, as reported by the mother rather than an ultrasound. LPM dating is often inaccurate, and there's no way to verify it. There is no required confirmation receipt or signature by the person actually picking up or getting the abortion pills. Whether, when, and who actually takes the pill is uncertain. Standard medical follow-ups are often never made. Reporting of chemical abortion use and results is uncertain and unreliable. Delivery time by USPS or other methods takes days or weeks and therefore varies wildly with weather, postage, package, time of year, mail volume, address changes, and the like, potentially adding a week or more to the gestational age. Just some things, practicable things, for even the thoughtful liberal to think about.
And not to mention just plain errors. We've talked about the case where the woman was getting her drug to help her stay pregnant and avoid miscarriage, and they just accidentally distributed the abortion pill to her.
Not to mention that today I was delivered a FedEx to 40 Days for Life that was completely meant for a local doctor's office and just was somehow rooted here at 40 Days for Life. So what if they just sent it to somebody's house and somebody was like an elderly person and couldn't find their specs that day? Specs or spectacles, glasses.
Glasses.
Yeah, I didn't know how old
Like
you were.
Benjamin Franklin.
Because sometimes you act so young and immature. And so,
That was quick.
yeah, and so, yeah, like Ben Franklin. So Ben Franklin's like, where are my specs? So he's like, oh, this must be my heart medication, my wife's heart medication or whatever, Who knows what they're taking? People mistake medicine all the time. It is one of the major things that happen. So grandma's now picking up. I'm not saying it's going to kill grandma, but I'm just saying the wrong person shouldn't be taking medicine. What if a little kid takes it? What if a 9-year-old takes it?
Maybe this will be part of Elon's reform of the government.
Who's Elon?
Elon Musk.
I was kidding.
He's running our country now. It's
The other Elon.
the other Elon. He's
tall. He's actually tall.
he needs to maybe when he takes the postal service and just sells it to Bezos, just sell it to Amazon or FedEx, right? And what he said, we don't need at least 5 million of the federal government workers. He's like naming it just casually. Maybe this will be part of it that they.
But the
just get out
USPS
of it.
is shameful. Think about it. They're like,
Horrible.
And we do it all. And we misdeliver your mail 90%. And we do it all without using one tax. Why do you do it without using one tax dollar? I pay taxes.
Has
Why
anybody
should-
quit
What?
postal workers based on this out of conscience? Be an
Not that
interesting-
I've heard of.
That's an
Google.
yeah. I mean, the
Interesting
answer is of course like a few pharmacists, but by and large, I haven't heard of any.
But a postal worker who's like, look, I can deliver certain things. I've pushed the envelope, but I'm not.
But think about all the crap they deliver.
I guess they don't know.
Pornography and I don't.
But this is a pill that kills a baby. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Steve has all those stats.
Well, something I think is important to mention here is we talked about this a little bit at the beginning. One other advantage that we have as pro-lifers, even though abortion pills are perhaps our biggest problem, biggest challenge, the advantage we have is unlike a surgical abortion, it's possible to reverse many chemical abortions with abortion pill reversal. That
Oh, great point.
the use of progesterone to block the mifepristone from blocking the progesterone. I guess it doesn't block it, but it overwhelms the mifepristone to prevent it from blocking the progesterone.
And it does work.
It does work, yeah, and we've got the babies to show for it. And in fact,
And the medicine.
even as you've got New York and California suing the pregnancy centers that are dispensing progesterone to reverse abortions, that woman that I mentioned before, where she's trying to take the drug to stay pregnant because she's at risk of miscarrying, and they accidentally distribute abortion pill. You know what happened when she called in and said, "Hey, this is the wrong drug"?
You need to get APR.
They gave her APR. So they're saying it doesn't work, but
You have
comes
one
to
chance.
shove,
They
yeah.
said you have one chance.
It's that it's just enraging how they.
So
put
that's a
that
good
off.
point. And like chemical abortions can be effective by blocking progesterone. Similar to if you're super thirsty, you could drink a lot of water.
Yep.
And that works. Doesn't work all the time, but even if it works 1 out of 100 times, an APR abortion pill reversal is just giving progesterone. Unlike those people who create a drug to stop what God made, they just give progesterone and hopefully that works.
no danger to the women, no danger to the baby, no increased birth defects.
And that is back to your point of getting the message out and educating. You can just educate the people. And if you find out the wrong person took it, or your little sister took it, or you took it and you're bleeding in the bathroom and you're cramping and this hurts way more than I thought, and it's within a very short period of time, you can reverse it. And just education can do that.
And speaking of, as we close out, we're going to put all those links on the show notes. We have the brochure. We have all the information, the map that the Institute of Law and Justice put out on these abortion laws state by state. So check that out. Get on there and look at the show notes, because all these links, it is education, and it's particularly abortion pill reversal, which is awesome and effective. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, Matt. Be sure to rate, review, share this podcast, and we will see you next time.